Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's episode is a bit different. I have my friend Levi Mahadeo here. He is a doctor from Trinidad, and Misha Christie's here again, but he's just in the background. Please stop. So, welcome to the show, Levi.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So, guys, you may have remembered in my previous episode, Misha and I were talking about our group, our friendship group. Levi's a part of it. He is the Trinidadian who came to England. What? When did you come?
In July.
July. Wow. See, it's just so funny how you've been here such a short time, but yet we're all like these really close friends, which is really good. Also with Deo, but Deo is currently busy working at the moment. So yeah. So Levi, how have you found the UK? Because you live out in Brighton and you're here as a doctor. So what's that like?
It's not too bad. Each country has its pros and cons. So I would say it's nice being exposed to more the advanced side of medicine in terms of like robotics, all the technologies that we don't have back in the Caribbean. It's really fascinating, I must admit.
Nice, because you are a gynecologist, but also you guys mostly call it OBGYN.
Yes, obstetrics is also included. Can't forget that.
See, I don't know this. Okay, I do not work in the medical profession, so I'm completely confused. So, for those who are absent-minded like myself, what is your day-to-day job like?
There's two aspects. As OBGYN stands for obstetrics and gynecology. So the obstetrics part is more like dealing with deliveries and high-risk pregnancies if they have pressure or sugar, all these different things, complications that go alongside pregnancies. And then there's the gynecological aspect, which has a very wide range. It could be like early pregnancies, miscarriages, STIs, or even dealing with oncology, gynecological cancers in the elderly. So it's a very wide field, I must admit. But yeah, I definitely have a passion for it, more so the obstetric side.
Mm-hmm. So what attracted to you doing that?
Well, in med school, rotating through everything, I think there's something about that joy, that spark, especially in delivering babies, that you see the family experience as a couple. And it's just so pure, it's so authentic. It really makes my passion for the job very high, because just experiencing that with this family is just priceless. There's no price tag you could put on that.
Nice. So like on average, let's say a week, every week, how many babies do you deliver?
So back home was definitely higher. So now the trust is more separated. Our trust has 5 hospitals. So daily probably about 7 to 15.
Wow. And how many are like natural birth, or they drugged up, or cesarean? Like, what really pushes you to the limit?
Well, one of the pros, I guess, being here is that, like I said, the technology. So they have all these different fancy analgesia and stuff that we don't have back home. So it's a much more calm, pleasant introduction of the newborn. So it's even an even better experience to go through with the couple. Yeah.
So like, for example, let's say you're delivering twins. What's that like? What is the high risk of delivering a baby for you as a doctor, or even like triplets or something like that?
Okay, probably in the early part of practice, you'd be scared. Okay, maybe what if I cut the baby head? Oh, okay, probably shouldn't say that. But you're now training off is a very delicate surgery, all different steps, the layers. You always have that panic, that fear. But with time, practice, it just becomes like doing everyday chores. I would say that the UK does have a higher cesarean section rate, but that's because they're very involved. The patient's very involved in their decision-making process, so they have the choice. Whereas back home, we don't have the resources to electively offer person cesarean section. So there is more cesarean sections being done. But yeah, I enjoy it regardless.
So like when you are delivering as well, like is there a high percentage of like male to female, like when you're delivered, like when they're being delivered, or is it just depends on the day?
it honestly depends on the day. Some days last week we had like all boys, and then some days you have all girls on one boy. It's really 50-50.
Okay, nice. So I remember Misha was doing a report and showing that about the high rate of black women dying during childbirth. Now you don't have that issue because you're in Brighton. So, and look, we're not coming for Brighton, but it's not a diversity.
No.
So, what would you say is the reason for something like that happening in a country like England?
I guess that's probably one of the few things I maybe wasn't exposed to, or still not being exposed to, because my trust is very mixed. So a lot of my seniors are non-nationals or mixed persons or persons of color. So I don't feel any type of segregation or like an outsider or no type of. I feel very included. I'm very driven. They push me to do things, push me in training, very encouraged, very supportive environment, and I don't think that there's any racism or inequality.
I think because it's like in London maybe, or like certain really diverse cities, because there have been several reports of racism. I don't have facts here, so I don't want to spew out false information, but sometimes a lot of black women have just shared about their experiences in terms of the nurses they've dealt with, or sometimes doctors will just say they have like a higher tolerance to pain and stuff like that, and some of it allegedly has been on reports of just like one person who had a high tolerance of pain, and they were like, you know what, yes, all black people have high tolerance to pain. So do you think that has a part to it, or is it because you just see stories all the time like on Twitter and stuff like that, where you just see, like, I saw one tweet where this black girl had a stroke and she had a wig on and they didn't know what to do. And so because this was a black female doctor, she knew to be able to remove the lace and then so that they could do the operation. What I mean? So it's like little things like that. So I do think that probably does play a factor into it.
Yes.
But because where you are, there's not really a lot of like black women or Asian women and stuff like that. You might get the odd one, or maybe like a mixed race woman and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, I do have friends working with other trusts, so I definitely know it's there, it exists, and they themselves are doing their own studies and research in terms of racism in healthcare, racism in the NHS, and the results are pretty alarming. So I wouldn't downplay it. I wouldn't say that it's not there, but I've been fortunate to be in a trust where it's non-existent.
Nice. So why Brighton and not London? Because you always come into London to see us, but yet you chose Brighton. Why? I want to know.
So, I mean, two reasons. One, Brighton is still, I get quite a fair share of beach. So it at least reminds me of back home, being along the coastline,
sure.
having access to so many beach during the summer. And then London is also very busy. So even coming from Trinidad and Tobago, it's two islands, one country. I worked on the small island that's more laid back, known to be relaxed, nice beaches. Trinidad is, busy. They call it Little Miami. So I mean, I don't mind going to the busy or being in London, but I still like to go home to my nice peace and quiet. But London is a bit too busy for me to live in. Too fast paced. Too much is going on. But
you're always here anyway to see us.
That's okay.
Or is it because you can come and go?
Yes, and I have the ease of access. Brighton is just half an hour if I get the express
true.
train, so that's fine.
It reminds me of, like when you have like nieces and nephews and you love them and then you can give them back to their... That's what it sounds like.
Perfect
I can
explanation.
come and just get like the best of London, but I don't have to deal with it all the time and go back.
Exactly.
Nice. So since you've been in the UK, what has been... Let's start off with the worst. What is the worst thing you don't like compared to like being back home? And you can't say the weather because everyone knows.
Okay, so apart from the weather, I would say the few times that I came last year, that would have been to do exams between 2019 to 2022. 2021, sorry. I would have experienced some racism, whether it be with the banks or on public transport, but that's because I was very far north, like in Scotland, and not very mixed parts of the UK, so it was very alarming. I had so much difficulty. I had to go to like 4 or 5 different banks before I could even set up a bank account. And it was just very surprising to see that this still exists. It's still here. It's kind of worried coming into the UK, but reading about Brighton, I saw that it was very diverse, quote unquote.
Sorry, I just had to laugh at that one.
But you guys have visited
No shade
me.
to Brighton. No
Dio's
shade.
been there. Misha's been there.
Yes, I've not been. I'm coming. Don't come for me.
Yet to come. But as much as they promote diversity, I think it's more diverse in terms of the LGBTQ aspect. You know, you'll see trans persons who have gender reassignment surgery, these different things. But there's not a very high population of persons of color.
Okay, sure. That makes sense. Okay. And that's it? Nothing else?
Anything else? Bad experiences in the UK. Well, I mean, the weather really sucks, honestly.
Yeah, that's why you guys just went to Tenerife, living your best life.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice
These guys
being...
don't live within the budget. It must be nice.
This happens when you don't have kids and you're single.
I don't have kids, and I'm single, but okay.
Yeah, at least we have that's a good thing. At least I have the option to book cheap flights and go to countries where it could be warmer.
Yeah,
for less than £100 you could get flights, hotel, everything. I'm trying to think of more cons. The weather and racism.
Okay. And what are the pros? Because you did choose England to come and start your career as a doctor. Like, you could have gone to America, Canada. What was it about UK?
I guess, well, back home we follow a lot of UK guidelines. So coming here was very familiar. And then again, being exposed to all the different things like robotic surgeries, all these gender reassignment surgeries, all these things that we don't have back home or that frowned upon in the Caribbean, is really fascinating to expand my knowledge and expand in my skills and progress. It's really nice, to be quite honest.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good to hear. So thanks again, Levi, for coming on the show. It was good to get to know you more, even though I know you, but just to hear this aspect. We've never had that kind of conversation, but because I've only known you for 4 months. Yeah, 4 months. It's weird because anyone who knows me, I don't get close to people like this so quick. Yeah,
Dio mentioned that.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Oh no. We could. Oh no. Retract. Never said it.
Oh, that's staying in. Anyway, but yeah, so it's been really cool, connecting with you guys. And I always say, I've mentioned you guys on here before, and you guys just have a different soul to UK people. They're just trash. That's what it is. And I think it's been good to connect with people on my level as well, and that's what's been really cool as well. So yeah, that's how you create fast friendships as well. And yeah,
fast but long lasting.
Yes, exactly.
Authentic.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
right,
so. Oh, please. So
don't even talk, because Misha, about authentic friendship, he just watched me and move his way when I was in Jamaica and I met him. So
see, exactly, because we met when we went to Sky Bar. Remember?
Not Sky Bar.
Sky
Roofies.
Garden. No.
We met at
I'm
Roofies.
talking about us when I met Levi.
Levi,
Because we went to
yes.
Sky Bar, and then he was like, "Oh, there's a friend coming down," and I was like, "Okay, sure, whatever." I guess.
I'm surprised I got the invite, to be quite honest.
Oh.
But now I'm a part of the crew. I'm happy to be here.
Because I don't think I ever told you when I first met you. I was like, you remind me so much of my cousin, and because I have cousins who are half black and half Indian, and that's your same mix as well. And I was like, what the hell? So that's why anytime I'm around you guys, I'm like, it feels like I'm around my family. And because I've never, you have British Jamaicans, but it's not the same. When you meet with your authentic. So that's why I think it feels like home as well. So yeah. Well, thanks again, Levi, and Misha with his side commentary for coming on the show. Hey guys, thanks for listening to part 1 of my interview with Levi Mahadeo. Stay tuned for part 2 with DeOmar Manning. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today is another different type of episode, just like you heard with Misha Christie and Levi. We have my best friend, DeOmar Manning. And Levi and Misha in the background. So yeah. So Dio, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the famous Kashif Booth podcast, and I'm happy to be here.
I love how you putting on this TV presenter voice. What is this? Is this your work voice? Like, what's going on?
It does happen.
Yeah. Because I mean, I always see how you switch up on me anyway. Because like you start speaking fast and with your patois when you're around everyone else, but you slow it down like it's not my culture. I noticed that.
Actually, and you have surpassed that. You've actually started to pick up on the fast talking. So
pick up.
Yeah, man. You catch on real quick.
I don't know about that one.
Catch on real quick. Well, Levi, no, you.
What do you mean, like pick up? I grew up with this.
Yeah. No, well, when I say pick up, I mean I know that you grew up around it, but like from my level of how I speak very fast and listen. All right, compared to other Brits here, Jamaican or Caribbean family raised, they have a difficulty. They just look at me and smile, and I'm like, oh, okay.
As I said, I think it's different because I'm different. What I mean is my childhood and my life is different. So like I said, my parents are British, but their older siblings are Jamaican, their parents are Jamaican, their nieces and nephews are Jamaican, so they're my first cousins, so that's all I grew up with. So I'm one of few who are like the first grandchildren in this country, so that's what I grew up with. So
I must say that's why you're such an interesting individual, because listen, if anybody who have Jamaican, I mean I might get some backlash for this, but anybody with Jamaicans in their family and can handle them, yeah man, it's going to have an interesting life regardless. No offense to you Trinidadian in the background.
No comments. We already know we're the number one island in the Caribbean.
So Dio, what brought you to the UK? Because you've been here for a year and a couple months. So what brought you to England?
So of course, most Jamaicans who leave the island will probably tell you for better opportunities, to kind of just expand their cultural background and kind of have a better chance at life, which somewhat is a bit difficult to get on our small island. It's beautiful, but it's quite expensive, and there are certain things other factors that lets you want to leave. For example, the crime rate and stuff like that. So I just thought I had the opportunity, and I was like, hey, why not? It's a new country. It's very different because most Jamaicans tend to just visit Canada or America, but to go to Europe side,
yeah, I mean, it's not surprising because for a long time people came to the UK all the time. Like even my cousin, who's my uncle's, one of his oldest daughters, she came here in the early 2000s to go to college and stuff like that. So people have always been coming here. So that's why I wanted to know why you chose UK, because you could go to America, Canada, and all that kind of stuff. So that's fine. So
the others probably have been a bit more tricky in terms of residing at. So a thing that you take into consideration when leaving Jamaica, you have to look at how accessible it is for you to get certain things such as residency and just being a part of the country that you're going to. And America would be very difficult. Canada is mostly through education, so most people probably go there from that angle and then move on. Of course you can go through work, but for the UK I was able to come here through a work program, which would have been easier for me. It was the better option when I looked at it, pretty much.
Okay, fine. So we've known each other for 11 months. Yes, 11 months. It feels longer because you stress me out and sometimes I want to choke you out. But yes, because you know how to push those buttons, and these guys have seen. So So we met while I remember because I was on Bumble Biz. Shout out Bumble Biz. I've met a lot of people from Bumble Biz to network with and stuff. And you were looking for work, and I was networking for people. See, this is why I don't tell people that I meet people on that, because they always do that. And it's a great networking source, guys. Please, see, this is what I'm saying. So anyway, so that's how we met. And so, yeah, it was a good conversation and stuff. And we were just like bonding over what we were looking for in terms of our career and stuff. I wanted a new job and stuff. And DeOmar was looking for work and stuff. So we were talking for a few days and we decided to meet. Well, I suggested to meet you because I was like, oh, this guy seems cool. Let's just hang out. Let's just see how we vibe. And, yeah, but if I'm honest, like, I had plans, but they were cancelled. So I was like, let me see what I could do. And so I hit him up.
So it's
and
pretty
then
much a second thought then.
Priorities.
I mean, I don't just meet strangers off the internet, regardless if it's just networking. But I thought, let's just see, you know, let's just see what this is like. And you know what's funny? We don't live that far away from each other. But just like... Don't take this wrong, guys. But you know how you all have your blonde moments? He had his biggest blonde moment. Yeah, he could not find where we were supposed to go. And I had to call him and I was like, it's just here. We're just going to like the dessert place, Casper's, to chat and chill. And literally, he was just like 10 minutes down the road. He got off at the wrong stop. And it was just like, what is going on? So, yeah.
I was pretty much still navigating the UK.
Nah, that happened
Mind
to me
you.
too.
No, but I'm sorry. He had been here like 4 months. So there was no...
No,
come on.
Never mind.
So in all honesty, even though I was here for the 4 months, I wasn't coming out of the house. I didn't get out of the house, and I think it was starting to affect me because at that time, it was, you know, within the winter period, and you know, it was getting dark early. You know, the job was a bit slow, so I was at home, and I must say, it was, you know, I'm somewhat of a social being, so I do depend on you know, socializing, social interaction, and stuff like that. So it was becoming. Oh, shut up. So it was becoming it was affecting me, my mental health, and as a result, you know, I was like, all right then. And that's one of the things that also caused me to even continue networking with the chief, because I was like, all right, then this is just a foot in.
Ooh, so it's not because he wants the friendship to continue.
Look at that.
Well, so right, I mean, initially we all had some, you know, but then the Lord let it work out as well it should. And so when I left the house, I wasn't so familiar with City Mapper at the time, and it was a bit of a struggle trying to understand.
I know
the
that
last
struggle.
thing you want to do is leave the house and then get lost. And I think the only reason why I was able to go there was because I had to go there to do some banking stuff, and I had an idea where that was, and then from there he just kind of came and met me. So yeah, I mean, give or take, I just wasn't coming out of the house. I didn't get out of the house and so on for the 4 months. I just was working from home. My job was pretty much working from home either way. So yeah, that was why. But no, I get lost. So easy. It's so easy.
It's fun. Nah, City Mapper's big.
I still get lost.
Nah.
I've been lost meeting you guys multiple times.
No, Levi is a different case, you know. Because sometimes I sit down and go, Levi, how can you know, but it's fine. It's fine.
So you work in procurement. How have you found procurement in the UK compared to back home in Jamaica?
Well, it's very different. So in Jamaica, I was focusing mostly on internal procurement, and you know, that kind of had me dealing with mostly like plans for the company in terms of facilitating getting certain stuff for the company and stuff like that. But here I'm actually working with companies that are working on an international level, you know, that are doing business with companies all over France, Spain, Germany, places like that. And it takes a while for you to kind of get accustomed to learning how it is that you can have conversations with people in different countries who don't speak the same language as you and stuff like that. So it's vastly different. Also, I realized that being in procurement here, you have different levels. So you have a buyer, you have a purchasing administrator, and sales, and they all work together to carry out the functions. While in Jamaica, really and truly, you're just a procurement officer and you just handle that. So It's really different. It's really interesting. Can be sometimes a little bit tedious, but for the most part, it has a lot more interesting aspects to it. So yeah, that's pretty much that as it relates to procurement.
So you've been in London for, what is it, 14 months? Yeah, 14 months. So what do you like and what don't you like about London?
That's a tough one. What do I like about London?
It's safe.
I mean, I love the trains. I love, that's about it. I mean,
You like the drinks?
The trains, the drinks are the drinks are some interesting drinks. I think culturally, when you get here, there is an adjustment. Yeah, you do have a big adjustment to do. But I do enjoy. It might sound simple, but I do enjoy the luxuries of just having like a train ride. And just it really does. I also find it fascinating that the timing when it comes to certain things are down to the T. So, for example, with City Mapper, if I need to get somewhere, it gives a time and it's literally down to the wire. You're there on the dot for whatever time it is. Not like you, Kashif, who clearly has some time of a reach.
Wait, what?
Not like you, who when you have to reach somewhere at like 10 o'clock, you're there. 10 o'clock on the dot.
That's just me. I just don't like being late. So I'm always on time, okay?
It's like, do you hear praise and City Mapper? How it down to the T, I'll get there at the time it says, but they're always late. I don't get it.
Yes, and of course, alright, yeah, so I'm always late, but not a fault of City Mapper, a fault of mine,
Good.
right? So,
and other things, but anyway.
You see, there are little telltale signs. So if I'm leaving, I might tell you that, oh yeah, man, I'm on my way, but really and truly,
he's trying to delay the time he gets there so he can make his quick exit.
Wow. Please bear in mind that this is your podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Anyone who should listen will know my tricks and trades. But that's not the case. Not at all. No, man. I really love to be around people. I really love to be like at the space and just be there for long. The looks that you guys are giving me right now are hilarious. To be there for like a long period.
What have you done with Dio?
And stuff
this
like
is
that.
politically correct, dear. That's all.
It is, yeah. The UK really. Another thing is that I really like how polite UK people are, even though it might be passive. It may be passive, right? But it is just nice to know that if you are, you literally have moments where there's one seat, you got to the seat first. There's a lady who's standing there and she goes, "Oh, you'd like to sit?" And you're like, "No, would you like?" She says, "Oh, okay, you can have a seat, man." And you're like, "No, man, it's fine," until eventually she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're so sweet, blah blah blah." But it's just refreshing because in Jamaica, why me must give you the seat, but me sit down, right? So I mean, it's a bit different. I mean, I'm highlighting bad things about Jamaica, but there are good things about Jamaica too. So yeah, for anybody who's listening, it's a wonderful place to go when you go to like Oshi or Mobay at the hotels. It's great.
Kingston great too.
Kingston was nightlife, so I guess.
Yeah, man. If you go to like Marriott Hotel, and so on,
Izzy.
Why are you just calling hotels?
Jangas.
Yeah,
Jangas and the bar.
Yeah, man. Those places are lovely. For anybody, Tivoli is not.
Tivoli is beautiful.
Waterfront.
It's a waterfront location.
It's
You
waterfront.
guys should definitely visit Tivoli if you get the chance. Yeah.
But I find that funny because a lot of people who come to London, they're always saying that Londoners are rude, and we, but
and that's within reason, because I found myself having moments of wanting to be very rude, where you're trying to catch the train, right? And someone's just taking the sweet time going up the stairs, and like the train is there, and you're like, ooh, so really and truly you then become kind of a bit more aggressive. But for what I know what rude is compared to what Londoners, or what people say that Londoners rudeness is, it pales in comparison. So they probably just say, excuse me in the way, and I just go, oh, no problem. You know, when they probably meant it in a negative light or context. But yeah, no, I don't find them rude per se.
No, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I mean, look, I'm not going around saying good morning to people. What for? Because you don't know who you're talking to, and I ain't got time for that. I've got somewhere to go.
The thing is, in such a busy space, no one has time to tell people morning because you have somewhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think people who are from, and it's the same thing in Jamaica, nobody just tells people morning just like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from a small community, then you know where everybody knows everybody.
People in Kingston don't tell people good morning.
We don't need to.
Because you guys non-manners. That's why.
It is just what it is. No, because it's a busy place, so you have places to go. So we don't have time to do small talk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you realize that when you're in a more intimate setting where it's a one-on-one, then you may have a bit more conversation. In Jamaica now, we're just not going to look at you in the face. If you're in country, maybe you might have some people who will say, morning and stuff like that and pleasantries. But it's definitely not practiced in a fast-paced environment. And the UK is pretty fast-paced. So, and it's just so diverse. So, yeah.
London and
Sorry,
London and certain cities are very diverse, but not all. So, but one thing I did want to touch on was, and you all can chime in. What do you think of UK food?
It's
not it.
He went there.
It's not giving.
It's
not. No,
and why?
Like, there's just no seasoning.
No flavor,
no flavor, nothing. Even some of the Jamaican places that don't really have enough seasoning.
Well, you see, where I live has a lot of Jamaicans.
Where I'm talking about specifically is Central.
Oh,
Central,
right. No.
Central.
Yeah, but that's tourist city, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's where I worked, and like I as lunch one time, I was like, oh, let me treat myself to some. It was disgusting. I was like,
and
what
it's expensive.
is this? I was expensive, and I had to just like close my eyes and just throw it away because it was disgusting.
Yeah.
So, I remember going to somewhere. It's so funny. I went to Hackney. Yeah, I remember we went to Hackney night. Was it the night market?
Oh yeah, the Black-owned market. Yes.
Market. And it always stand out to me that there's this place. There's a booth where the lady was like, Jamaican jerk chicken and stuff like that. And I said to her, "Oh, nice. Is it pan jerk or oven jerk?" And she looked at me so confused and like, "What you talking about? Oven jerk?" And like she's like, "Oven." And the lady behind her, who seems to be a Jamaican, was like, "Oh no, man, there's a pan jerk thing too." She said, "Oh, okay, I never know." I said, "But you're here promoting Jamaican things. You don't know about Jamaican things."
I remember that, and I was like, he would know. Okay, he would know. He is Jamaican. So, see, that's the difference. Like I've always said to you guys before, there's like a difference between being British Jamaican and Jamaican like you guys, and being Trini.
It might sound weird, and you have to be so careful with what you say. But I'm gonna just say this: I have a sense of superiority when I go into Jamaican restaurants up here. Because I know I am what I am, and when they do certain things now, I'm like, yeah, what is this? Yeah. And the thing is, there's places that would give bad service, right? Bad service, and you'd be like, you're right now. You're getting me adapting to the UK, trying to be polite and nice, but you don't want me to get dark like a true Jamaican, because I don't think you're going to appreciate it being in a Jamaican store and stuff like that, and you kind of have to just rocks them up, for a better word, if them kind of lacking, because I think they know that some places think that they're so in demand because of their flavors and stuff like that. Well, in my vicinity, that they can get away with anything regarding service. And as somebody who has worked in customer service, that's something I don't tolerate. So I will get stern and kind of, yeah, man. Mm-hmm. I will practice and read off the Jamaican bad words and let them see how Jamaican truly can get. And funny enough, how I can get is not even as bad Jamaican, because I was quote unquote considered an uptown Jamaican, so it's totally different from how somebody else would probably get on in a store like that. But yeah, the food is just
I'll redeem British food to some degree because I have eaten out twice, maybe 3 times. But I went to person's homes. So one of my friends that I worked with before she left would have invited me to like potluck. We all came, we cooked, and it was purely British food. The things that they do it was egg that was baked and foods that I've never eaten before. And then I also went to the secretaries for the ward. Invited me to a home last week as well, and the food was actually really good.
really.
The home cooked food that they made was really good. I enjoyed it.
No, it's true. Like there are some British delicacies which are good when they cook with, because the way how British cuisine is, like they cook with a lot of wine, and that's how they marinate. That's how they do stuff. Good cooks anyway, and if they actually to, they use a lot of natural ingredients like fruit and like stuff like that, so it can be good. Now, not all. Because listen, I've lived there my whole life. I've had all different kind of stuff. So that's interesting. And what would you say about people speaking patois? Because what's so funny is that you guys will drop certain patois, and I'm like, what? Like the other day in a group chat, you lot were all talking about lime, and I thought it was a typo, and I thought you meant time, right? And then Dio was like, no, a line where you go and do stuff, and I'm like, I've never heard this in my life. I said to my mom, like, do you know about lime? She was like, what are you talking about? So like there's definitely like more of a modern patois which hasn't, there might be some British Jamaicans who do know that, but for me it hasn't reached this side of the point. So like when you hear like, because Jamaican patois has been integrated into popular culture a lot, so you'll probably hear a lot of people saying ting just like all the time now. I've never heard you guys say ting, so that's how I know it's outdated as well. Yeah, so what do you guys think of it?
It's adorable, it's like
it's admirable.
It's like, okay, yeah, sure, we see where it's our culture is kind of like being like the measure of being cool, kind of, so that's what gets interwoven into just regular talking, to even the point where it's like some people think that they know patois even better than you. Because I did have that interaction one time with a British person, full-bred British person, non-POC British person, where they were like, oh, say something in patois for me, and I did say something in patois for them, and they were like, oh, that's not patois. I'm like, what? And then they were like, oh, you can't trick Londoners, we know patois. I'm like, what? I'm trying to find the correlation of that sentence. I'm like, what? But yeah, it was so funny. So it's like, yeah, that's how it.
I have to say to people who are listening also, because it has happened twice. Well, actually 3 times or more than it has happened enough, and I must say right now. So yes, the person who's speaking to you right now is Jamaican. And I am not from any other Caribbean country, so you might hear me, you might think, oh, but you sound. No, I am full Jamaican, because someone has said to me that I sound Trinidadian.
Yes.
You're listening to a Trini.
Big up.
That's the Trini.
That's the Trini.
Right?
You have a little Trini tongue.
Also, yes, we may sound quote unquote Americanized, but we're not Americans. Not because we formulate our words and our sentences and speak properly means that we're not from Jamaica. Jamaica is not just that. Our culture, we are taught to do both standard English and broken English, or patois, right? So not because you hear me sitting here speaking full standard English means that I am not Jamaican. So just to clear the air on that.
But no, I think it's what standard English, broken English, and Jamaican patois. Because you have the broken English, which is like Jamaican English. Yeah. Where you kind of like patois and English at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. And sometimes, funny enough, I'm like, I said to someone recently, I said, it's not hard for you to pick up what I'm saying, right? If I say, anyway, it's literally anywhere. So there are certain things that it's just easy to pick up on. But for some strange reason, with my coworkers, when I speak, I know I know they're looking at me and smiling and nodding and don't understand a word I'm saying.
Yup.
Right?
Been there.
But I won't lie. Sometimes I haven't caught on so quickly to British, because I realize Brits have the white,
slang, like Cockney slang, and then there's black British slang.
And so there's so there are two different, conversations happening. So you're like, you have to try and get adapted to both. So it is a bit tricky. Also, what people need to understand is that what I think is that the patois that Brits know, or Jamaican British born people know, is not the same as what is in Jamaica. 'Cause trust me, patois in Jamaica is consistently evolving through music, and therefore the lingo changes, and therefore certain things are just happening, and you're like, what? So
period.
Yeah, normal, right? So when people up here might think that just what we use back, what they're used to back then, is not what we're going to be using currently, because our music influences our culture and our language, and it consistently changes. So Jamaica, you hear a man. Some people, not everybody, but you'll hear some people say, "Oh, yeah, man, I'm gonna consume the summer around it, right?" Which means I'm going to eat the fish. But because Jamaica have a way of creating context to things, it changes the language and stuff of that, and because of that now, it just becomes more diverse and stuff like that, and it doesn't translate so quickly into the British culture. So yeah, that's pretty much that regarding that aspect.
But then there's also words that we use that are different. Like, I was like, "Oh, they're my trainers," and you guys all looked at me like, "What are you talking about?"
Trainers.
So let me.
And you're like, sneakers. So that's what I feel like. Yeah, some of your English is American English, so, because
on this topic, I remember Kashif didn't bring it up, but I'm surprised that he didn't.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, when he mentioned something to me, I don't remember what it was. Probably he can remember, and I said to him, "Oh, hush!" And Kashif looked at me like, "Why are you telling me to shut up?"
Because what happened was we were walking and I tripped, and then he was like, "Hush, hush," and I'm like, "Why are you telling me to be quiet?" And then,
but then I had to explain to him that in Jamaica, hush is more of a sentimental term to say, sorry that happened to you, that it's unfortunate that happened to you and stuff like that. He's like, "Oh," so imagine you.
That's in Trinidad. Do you say hush?
No, 3 years later, and I lived in Jamaica for 2 years, so I still have to adapt when I hear the word hush and be like, "Okay, you're not telling me to shut up."
Thank you, because I'm like, why are you telling me? Like, what? Yeah. Even sometimes now I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember what that means now. So yeah, because even like one time we went to the park, me and Deo, and then I saw a squirrel, and he was like, "No, it's squirrel." I'm like, "No, it's squirrel." I'm like, "No, it's squirrel. That's what it is."
It's giving that scene from Family Guy where like Cool Whip.
Oh,
Whip. Why are you saying like that? Cool Whip.
Why are you doing that?
Ruins. And he just would not let it go. I'm like, I am correct. Okay, it is. I speak English. Okay, I live in England. Okay, you have American English dialect. Okay, so yeah, that's some of the back and forth, but it's fine. Yeah, because like I said in the beginning, you do like to talk fast when you're around other Jamaicans or Caribbean people. Because even from you, I didn't know you guys there, and you weren't even in the UK yet. But for my birthday, because like you said, Dio gets lost, I was like, meet me and you just get in the cab with me. And it was my like uncle, but not really my uncle, and he's a cab driver, so he's Jamaican, so he was taking us there. And then he switched up in the car, like he's talking to the guy, and I'm just like, "You do not talk to me like this." I'm like, I understand what you say, okay? Like, I grew up with everyone, I can understand it. Even when, more so in the barbershop, because my family didn't really speak patois like that anyway. Yeah. So when I grew up going to the barbershop, they all spoke patois, and that's how I picked up a lot, and how fast it can be as well. So that's what I really learned. But it was funny because, like, when I was in school, it was just, I remember when I was around maybe 13, like, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden they just started saying bumble clot a lot or blood clot, and I was like, and just in terms of just for random ways, like
Watch
okay,
your
like
mouth.
they wouldn't say in any reference, they would just be like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was just like, do you know what that means? Like it was just like, and it was just people from like all different cultural backgrounds, if they are black or whatever. So yes, that's why it was really interesting. So yeah, so do you guys imagine? Well, not imagine, but do you guys see yourself living here for decades, or do you think you're gonna go back home?
Oh no.
You know, what's the short trip? Is it a short time I spend
I
with
don't
you guys?
see home in the future.
I don't see you home.
I don't see home in the future.
I
but
might be going somewhere else,
to
but it's
visit.
not home. But yeah, no. I mean, I'm not sure. Here, it might be a more long term thing here.
Yeah. For me, and it is something that I have discussed. Going back home. Listen, okay. The truth is, there are things that are happening in Jamaica that are not being highlighted, and you going back home as a returning resident, you are fearful of certain things because, of course, at one point, returning residents were kind of targeted in the country, and because of that, it became kind of problematic. So even in the news, you might hear that tourists are advised not to go to certain areas and stuff like that. So if you're not from Jamaica, there's certain things you don't know what to look for and stuff like that, and you think it's just a nice, harmless place, but you can go there and actually be, traumatized. About with certain things. So, in terms of longevity, probably I'll go back there to visit from time to time, get warm, see my friends. If any of my friends are left down there, because most people are, as I said, leaving and going other places. So. Yeah, probably to visit and be with family and stuff like that. But it wouldn't necessarily be there. Unless up here doesn't work out for me and I have to go back home. Mm-hmm. If I have a choice, I'm a stick. I'm a stick right beside it.
I think I will soft than you. I actually have no intention of even visiting.
Jesus.
Like shit.
Yeah, unless it's like a funeral or something really serious. I absolutely have to go. I have no intention. God. So you go for the warmth, I'll probably go Canary Islands or somewhere else again. No, because it's just unsafe. We surpass Jamaica now in crime. It's flooding at least 2-3 times a week. Wow. My family keep having to evacuate because of the floods, or unable to get home. Traffic, crime, it's just too much going on.
Yeah.
I don't see myself. Initially, I said, okay, I'll come here, specialize, either go back and retire or spread some talent. But no, it's just no. It's not an option.
Yeah, it's a no for me. I'm so sorry, so corny. I was thinking American Idol, and you know how to have the X there. And the Jamaica come.
I'm so sorry.
That doesn't mean they don't love their country, but they just know the reality of it. So
listen, okay, I saw someone make a TikTok, and I can't give you credit because I don't know who you are. I'm so sorry if you hear this, but it says, in order to live in the Caribbean, to afford the Caribbean, you have to leave the Caribbean to afford the Caribbean. So you can't be working in the Caribbean and afford the Caribbean just as you'd like to. You have to leave.
You have to leave the Caribbean.
But I don't know about Trinidad.
I want to know because I'm just still like, I made more money back home.
Yeah,
but it's fine.
Jamaica, you have to
I know,
go
Jamaica
somewhere
is
else
different.
and do it and come back because it's not happening.
Okay, well, thanks guys for coming on the show. This is what I wanted. I thought this is our conversations all the time, but I really wanted us to capture it and look back on. I know you won't listen to it, Dio, because you're a short attention span, but but I know Levi and Misha will listen back to it. So thanks guys for listening. You can follow me all on my usual socials, you know them, there's a bunch of them, and stay tuned for season 3 coming soon.